We had, certain experiences that were not necessarily meant to make us proud of our heritage, because they try to make us ashamed of ourselves by not letting us, for example, speak Spanish.
My mother raised us speaking English. She wanted us to be competitive in school, and even though we were exposed to Spanish, people that were primarily Spanish speakers kind of looked down on us because we couldn't speak the language. Of course, in school, we got it from the white kids because we were Mexican, so it just raised havoc with our psychology and that kind of a thing. So we grew up pretty confused.
Tacos, another thing, people sometimes would pack tacos and take them to school for lunch, and they actually made you ashamed of that.
Even at that level, they're trying to erase our culture and say assimilate, acculturate. Spanish, even much less the indigenous languages, which we, in a lot of ways, lost, right? But they don't teach us a true history of who we are.
We weren't allowed to listen to our music, so, some people, it was fine. I mean, they taught us, so that's life, But for some reason or other, for me, it wasn't all right. It wasn't. I didn't like the feeling that I couldn't be proud of who I was, that my language and my music. Culturally, nada aquí para nosotros, nothing.
Culture in the schools, society made me feel ashamed of playing the accordion, that it was inferior music.
By the time the Chicano movement came around, I was beginning to have some idea of what our heritage was.
The name Chicano was a way to identify ourselves because we weren't Mexican citizens, we weren't Spaniards, we were Chicanos, Mexican Americans, and we gave ourselves the name. The word Chicano was a name of resistance, a name of defiance, a name of self-identity. This is who we became. This is what we were establishing during the late 60s and the early 70s was self-identity, self-determination.
The term Chicano is used primarily by the group of people that become very socially conscious, that make socially conscious decisions to join the social movement for the betterment of the community. And I think that's one of the reasons why we have a new Mexican-American cultural type. Yes, we've Americanized, but to a great extent, we've Americanized on our own terms, not only in ethnic terms, but in broad cultural terms.
The Chicano cultural renaissance of that time, of the 60s into the 70s, all of that was happening, man, at that time, Poetry, readings, music, festivals, murals, it was exciting times. The Chicanos that were there in Austin, man, at the university and in the barrio, we were turned on, man. And we formed CASA, Chicano Art Students Association, and we began doing sort of events, collaborative events there at the university and started hooking up with the barrio.
Here one might mention, for example, Cynthia and Lydia Perez, who were in the student movement here on the campus and decided to make Austin their home, started Las Manitas restaurant, La Peña, the arts complex downtown. They became a very important locus, and still are, of the arts particularly.
Maria Salinas was the director of the Ballet Folclórico Aztlán de Texas.
She was the one that really got us involved with sort of danza azteca. We met Andrés Segura, who's the Capitán General de la Danza in Mexico City, and connected with him and did our first ceremonies in Mexico. The arts were exploding all across the nation, and I brought back my accordion, that I hadn't played since I was young, and then formed the Conjunto Aztlán, a conjunto del movimiento Chicano. Playing protest music and incorporating poetry, and we were danzantes there, traditional Mexica Azteca, Conchero Aztec. This whole move going back to our indigenous roots and our indigenous spirituality. And then conjunto, acordeon, bajo sexto, but protest music, man. We usually played music in the marchas too, and sang.
We were marching down the street and I was playing the guitar and we were singing some of the songs from the Movimiento. As we were walking down the street, there was a garage sale right in front of us and we were walking right by it, and he noticed there was an accordion there, a black accordion. And he went over there and picked it up, and I didn't even know he played. messed with it a little bit and bought it, and came back into March, and we kept going, and we played guitar and accordion from then on.
A lot of the conjuntos and orquestas that were forming up at that time, a lot of those activities were also in East Austin. Little Joe particularly was very important in that, and others as well.
La luna grande y redonda como un círculo hermético lleno por la...
We organized Floricanto 2 Poetry and Arts Festival. Floricanto comes from Isochiri, Cuicat, Nahuatl, flower and song, Floricanto. Mainly a literary festival, but there was all of the arts were represented one way or another.
The Floricanto activity begins in California, of course, but eventually we did have one here in Austin. A number of poets and writers from across the country came to Austin. Some of them came to Austin for the very first time in their lives.
Some of my next poems have to do with my family and coming out, being gay. That was not an easy thing for my family to accept. In fact, it's been a struggle ever since I came out.
So that was another very important facet of the student activity here, that it integrated UT and Austin and the greater Austin community with a national network of artists and intellectuals and filmmakers as well.
We started Mujeres Artistas del Sudoeste in 1979. We decided that what we wanted to do in order to give direction to where we wanted the arts to go, that we needed to have an intercambio.
I remember we had La Plástica Chicana. That was an interesting thing. We brought people from all over the place. It was an encuentro, or a gathering of a lot of artists from Mexico City. And then we brought people from California, from Chicago, El Paso, all over Texas. There were filmmakers and photographers, painters, of course, muralists, art historians.
And we had about 30 sessions on like the different artists would give. We had the Triato at the Pan American Recreation Center. We had the Conjunto Aslan. They played the Pachanga at the Zaragoza Park.
It was groundbreaking to have people, come in and get to know Austin, and as well as us getting to know them.
So I was very, very glad that we had this conference. I think the significance of this for us meant that we needed to bring this together to give us the power that we needed, to give us a sense of direction, to give us a sense of aquí está nuestra cultura y no nos vamos.
Pues que representa muchas cosas. Para diferentes gentes, it represents different things.
So one of the things that we did during that period of time was to paint murals around the East Austin community. Well, we needed an artist to be able to do that. Raul Valdez, who was our community artist, a celeb, was the one that spearheaded and led a group that started painting one mural at a time in the East Side. And one of the most renowned murals that Raul Valdez did was at the Pan Am Recreation Center.
I had identified my goals as far as art went, and I wanted to make cultural, political statements, and I wanted to take art to the public, and I had the idea that, why do you want to hide your art in a gallery? Take it to the streets. I wanted to do real public art, and I wanted to do art that people were a part of, that belonged to the people, So the first thing I did was make a list, and get everybody to sign their names and give me the subject matter that they were interested in seeing produced in this mural. And then I got people from the community, some kids mostly, and some other volunteers came by and helped out. So I kind of liked that model, and I continued it on.
His art was barrio art. His art made a statement about our community, about resistance, about defiance, about history, about culture. All of these things that we probably would have had taken too many words to convey, where art made it much easier for us to do. And that's what Raul Valdez represented for us.
had a center at the Juarez Lincoln University, which is right there on Cesar Chavez Boulevard there at 35. I knew people that taught there, including Jose Flores, who played with Conjunto Aslan, who was a jefe. He used to teach there. He started there.
It was sold, and of course, the first thing they do is they're going to destroy it.
I think the whole significance of it is that the community has accepted it as being part of the community and belonging to them, which was the intention in the first place.
And Raul Valdez painted a mural there that then they tore down. After that, we protested that.
They knocked the mural first, and they hit the lady right in the face. They weren't going for architectural integrity or the destruction thereof. They were hitting the lady in the face. They were hitting the mural. They were thinking about the mural, and so were the people. And somebody almost got seriously hurt trying to keep it from falling when they knocked it down. Alurista, Amado Peña, and Inés Hernandez Tovar, this guy named JP, and myself got together for a meeting and talked about doing a multidisciplinary cultural group, an organization, and work as one entity, And Alurista came up with the name League of United Chicano Artists.
Throughout the years, we would just showcase the art of different artists from the neighborhood. These were artists that may not have gotten an opportunity to do so anywhere else in the at-large cultural arts organizations. We used to offer classes, and Jose Flores taught literatura chicana and poetry.
Pedazo de movimiento, cercas de conciencia forman tu cuatro, lunas y estrellas tu población, mi espíritu te conoce, mi alma te recoge.
Raúl Salinas would also do the poesía and literatura.
Lucha was established to give voice to the need for a cultural arts center like the MAC.
And so this was a dream. This was the seed, and it started with Emma and I and Mrs. Limon and Mrs. Salinas, all these mothers that wanted a place so our culture, our poems, our music, our art could be enjoyed.
For me, it is so important to include a lot of the artists who spearheaded to have a space like this, who fought for these rights.
It's impossible to be proud when you don't know who you are. We have a center here that we can continue to promote that culture.
Poco a poco, raza, poco a poco se va muy lejos,
Poco a poco se va muy lejos. Yo les digo, ya sigo soy tus consejos. Poco a poco se va muy lejos.